future, Charles, not them. They no longer matter.
What's going on, moviegoers? So if you're new to the channel, my name's Christian and welcome to Zero Productions, you guys. So we have a huge rumor right now going about with the X-Men and two particular characters that are very important to not only X-Men comics, but to the X-Men franchise in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, I can see why Disney/Marvel wants to do something different. We've been getting X-Men movies for the last 20 years, and they want to be so different from those X-Men movies going forward into the MCU. They want no kind of tie-ins with those movies. They want something completely different. They don't want people to feel the same thing over and over again. They don't. Hence the whole, Spider-Man origin story. We never got it in the MCU. We never got Uncle Ben being killed. We never got the spider bite because Kevin Feige's like, it's been done before. We don't need to show that anymore. Now I feel with the X-Men, they're taking a very different approach, you guys. Very different approach. And this can potentially upset a lot of people. But rumor has it that Magneto and Professor X, well, at least Marvel Studios, are looking to cast a person of color for the roles in the MCU. Now, I know a lot of people are going to trip off this. Hold on, I'm sorry, man. Some shit's popping off outside. Are you finished? Are you done? Okay. I know a lot of people are going to go crazy about this. I just know it. You're stripping away their authentic Magneto and Professor X. I don't think I've ever seen an iteration of Magneto or Professor X, a person of color. I've never seen it before. Now, I can understand why they would go this route. Like I said, not only to be very different, but to suit the narrative of today's time, is what I mean. Now, when we're talking X-Men, we're talking with things that the X-Men and mutants are going to have to deal with. Bigotry, racism, and all that shit, right? And if it's going to be set somewhat in the past, what if they want more of a connection to today's society with these characters? You know what I mean? Because I know people are going to be complaining, yeah, the X-Men were a long time ago, right? The X-Men were like in the 60s and 70s when Stan Lee and Jack Kirby created these characters, right? And it's just a very different time that we have in 2019, a very different time. And it's not going to sit well with others if they decide to change, the color of, these two heroes and anti-hero. Magneto's an anti-hero. Sometimes he's good, sometimes he's bad. But I'm going to read you guys some of this article on MCU Cosmic. I really want to get into this. Rumor, Marvel is considering a person of color for Professor X and Magneto in the MCU. The X-Men won't show up in the MCU for a very long time, according to Kevin Feige. But that doesn't mean that Marvel Studios isn't already brainstorming what they'll do with the new toys they now have access to. One thing they're apparently considering is a huge change to Xavier and Magneto, according to Full Circle Cinema. They're thinking about having Magneto, Xavier, or both played by people of color in the upcoming MCU reboot. While it's a huge change for the characters, it'd be a big way to separate the MCU movies from the two Fox X-Men franchises and the people who played the characters in those films. It seems like this is really early and is just something that they're thinking about. And we have many years before we'll see the characters in the MCU. Still, that they're thinking of doing something as different as this should excite people for what they have planned for the mutants, as it won't be a repeat of what they've seen before. Like I said, they want to reach outside of the box. They don't want us to give something, they don't want to give us something that we've already seen before. They don't. We've seen a young Magneto. We've seen an old Magneto. Michael Fassbender and Ian McKellen. Fantastic. They both really knocked out of the park, given the material that they had. Although I do think that, never mind, I'm not going to say it. James McAvoy and Patrick Stewart as Professor X. fantastic work. Really, really great job. I was always worried. I was like, man, who's gonna pick up the mantle of Professor X, after Patrick Stewart's gone? Because that guy literally embodies the role of the character, look for look. I always said this when I was a kid. I was like, man, Patrick Stewart from Star Trek would be a fantastic Professor X. And you know what? He got the role in 2000, and ever since then, he's just been doing a fantastic job with the role, especially in Logan. Oh my God, so good. But back to the main topic. This is not. If this rumor does become true, they go this route. Not only they're going to set up a lot of fans, but they're taking a huge risk. And Marvel Studios is big like that. They do like to take a risk. Gender swap, race swap. I know when Tilda Swinton was cast as the Ancient One in Doctor Strange, I remember there was being a huge bunch of shit going on with that. Makari in the Eternals is a man, but in the MCU, it's casted as a deaf woman. Some people, I feel like we're upset about that. But I find it interesting that Marvel Studios is rumored floating around with this kind of idea, with substituting, these races. It's gonna suit the narrative of today's times. That's what I feel like. That's what they're leaning towards. They're gonna say, even I think one Marvel producer said that the X-Men title was outdated. Come on now, it's the X-Men. You're gonna call it X-Force? It's already been taken. Like, I don't know, you guys. I don't know. I don't necessarily know how I feel about it. I want an authentic Magneto and Professor X. Now, color shouldn't really have to play a role into this, right? If you get two phenomenal actors who can literally, perfect the role and give you the role that you've always wanted from a Magneto and Professor X in the MCU, I really do hope they go a younger route. I want a younger Magneto. From I remember the run of the Jim Lee X-Men. Magneto was ripped. He had the long white hair, but he was still ripped. That's my style of Magneto. That's what I kind of want. But I find it pretty interesting, you guys. Like I said, this is gonna stir a lot of pots. A lot of people aren't gonna be too happy with this, but change is always good, and maybe we should be on board with this, right? Why not? It's 2019. And this might lead to bigger and better things, you guys. I don't know. I'm still undecided how I feel about this. I can't give you guys my definite, answer to how I feel. You know what I mean? I gotta think about it some more. But push your comments down below. Let me know what you guys think about this rumor of Marvel Studios potentially wanting to cast a person of color for Professor X and Magneto. Any fan castings? Post them down below. Or do you dislike the idea? Post your comments down below, you guys, and thank you for taking time in your day for watching Zero Productions. Peace.